Mrs. B, right? Might as well. I'm walking through a ghost town, y'all ain't playing my sounds. Don't tell me to calm down, don't tell me to calm down. Only time I go backwards is when I wanna moonwalk. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. We are who we say that we are. You were lost in the stars, and it's all from the start. Never running no pace, never on the right page. But we still read that book, and we still run that race. Ay, Mississippi Racer riding out, no shortcuts, no time for that. Mississippi Racer riding out, till the wheels fall off, I'm driving that. Mississippi Racer riding out, we'll stop burning, strike the match. Mississippi Racer riding out, red light, green light, red light, good night. Ay, red light, green light, red light, good night. 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 Time to chill, don't sweat it.
What's pop? I did it wrong. I almost did it. So it's the opposite way. I figured it out. It's 100% this equation, but it's the opposite way. So let me fix everybody on the screen real quick. There we go. Welcome back to another episode of Sideline, the Sideline. I'm RWR Gene. I'm no longer the NFL Genius. I took that shit off after I guaranteed the game and it was wrong. I'm wire-to-wire Gene. And in the upper left corner, I got the Prince of Production. He's chomping at the bit to get rolling. Drake Mays Fan Club, #1 fan, Integrity Sports Network, Kyle Edwards.
Yeah, look, it's a new era for Patriots football. I felt like it got up to a decent start, obviously minus winning the game and everything, but I'm here for it. I now have a reason to be excited to watch games again.
I mean, that wasn't a good introduction for you. I was fired.
That was pretty good.
In the upper right corner, the guy is from the N1 podcast, one of the most knowledgeable basketball guys you ever listen to. He also is the Meaty Boys podcast. My guy is just doing it all. He's a football guy. He's a wrestling guy. He's a basketball guy. He's not guarding the two. He guards the three. Mr. Brett Gardy 3.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Looking forward to today. Looking forward to this weekend. Jordan Love versus C.J. Stroud should be some must-see TV.
You know, it's funny. I thought about this. Remember we talked about a lot of recap, only preview one game. We're previewing 3 games this week. There's 3 games on Sunday we got to talk about. Have to talk about. And I don't want to be that guy, but we just got to do it. It just has to be done. In the bottom left corner, he's taking it deep from Birds Deep, the THEE GODFREY, Mr. The Godfrey.
What's up, everybody? My favorite week, football week. Thursday starting off. No Diddy. Let's go.
I want to check out Jory in the chat. It's been a very stressful season so far, to say the least. I hear you. Jory, I hear you. Listen, I'm going to tell you something right now. And this is not even like a dig or a shot. I almost would rather be a Titans fan than be an Eagles fan. Because with the Eagles, they have to break down before they build back up. And the Titans are on the build up. Do you understand what I mean when I say that? It's like being a mediocre team in the NBA where you're not bad enough to get the top pick in the draft, but you're not good enough to win the whole thing. So you're stuck in like a purgatory. That's what I feel like the Philadelphia Eagles are in right now. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Nick Sirianni's ridiculous yelling at his own fans on the sideline. Just, yeah, what do you got to say now? We beat the 1-5 Browns at home as 10-point favorites by 4 points. Like, that's what that moron's doing? Come on, man.
As an Eagles fan, I can never co-sign on Captain Mayo.
No, you don't need to, though. But, like, in Jory's world, at this point, in Jory, I just speaking, you could tell me if you disagree with me. I think they should toss the season. You toss the season, you'll get your quarterback of the future. You got 3 of them coming out this year. Monster quarterbacks coming out this year. You got Daddy Quinn Ewers, Psycho Shador Sanders. There's a lot of them coming out this year. The Titans and Quinn Ewers, they might be good. They might be a playoff team next year. No, I know that you know that there's competitive people on the roster. I'm saying as a fan, you might want to root for them to not do well. You know what I mean? But guys, we got to talk about trades that happened in the NFL. We'll talk about a little bit of recap. We'll talk about trades that happened. Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers, they got their way. I've been a guy that, would it be fair to say I've been a little over on the Jets for the last 2 years? I've been kind of like, I've overhyped them. Is that fair?
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
They're 2-4 now. And look, I've also, I'm not jumping off the Aaron.
That's MetLife Stadium right now.
I'm not jumping off the Jets bandwagon. I'm not jumping off the Aaron Rodgers bandwagon. But what I will say this is that man, I defended that man for years in Green Bay. Defended that man for years. He's an asshole. We just have to admit he's an asshole. He's an absolute asshole. And what I mean by that, and we'll talk about the trade for Devontae Adams going to the Jets in a second. He throws a game-losing interception. Do you know what a leader does, Kyle? Kyle, you watched a leader play quarterback for years. You watched a true leader of men play quarterback for years. You know what a leader does in that scenario, Kyle? What does a leader do after they throw the game-losing interception?
I mean, you don't sit there and call out that player because a lot of issues from that game could be pointed at you as well. It's just sit there and try to put it all on Mike Williams. I agree with you. I kind of knew this about Aaron Rodgers, why I'm not high on the Jets going forward, but I think he's shown a lot of people who he is, especially being in New York. More people see him day in and day out. He's just a tough guy to play with, I assume. And you have to feel bad for. I know Mike Williams isn't Jerry Rice. I know he's not one of the greats, but to be called out like that, when after the past couple of weeks, Aaron Rodgers has had the ball in his hand with a chance to win the game. And what has he done? Thrown picks. But it's never Aaron Rodgers' fault. It's always somebody else.
But see, that's what I mean. A leader, here's what I do. Let's just say 100% of what Aaron Rodgers said was accurate. I'm not saying that what he said was inaccurate, right? I'm not saying that Mike Williams ran the right route. I'm not saying that Mike Williams was right in this scenario, but this is what a leader does, right? Can you be Mike Williams and I'll be Aaron Rodgers for a minute? I'm going to go to the press conference. I'm going to walk up to the press conference. Like, I have to be better there. I read something wrong. The throw was underthrown. I got to do a better job of tucking that ball. And we'll work our butts off this week to be better. Hey, Mike. Press mics are off. We're in the locker room. We're by ourselves. It's me and you, Mike. Mike, you knew you should have ran the right route there. You ran the wrong route. You were supposed to run to the red line. I threw it to the red line, and you weren't there. Now, I went out there in the media and took full accountability for it. But don't put me on the line like that again. Make sure you know the playbook. Make sure you're running the right route. That's what a leader does. That is what a leader does. I don't lead. Look, I know I'm not an NFL player. I know I'm not one of the greatest quarterbacks to play the football game. But I've been a leader in life. I mean, a manager in work, a leader on run 2 softball teams. I've been a leader for 20 years. I know what it takes to be a leader. Guardy 3, you had this man in Green Bay for years. Did this come up in Green Bay? Was this like something that you were accustomed to waiting for? Or did the talent just sway you to become such a Rodgers fan that you just can't see that?
No. This has always been Aaron Rodgers. The difference is now this is Aaron Rodgers in New York and not the Green Bay media market. So
right.
I was a surprise to a lot of people. But we saw countless times in Green Bay, he always threw players under the bus. If they dropped passes, ran wrong routes, he would just straight up say it to the media instead of taking it to the side. So overall, I almost expected it. As soon as I watched, Mike Williams, and it did kind of look like he ran the wrong route, and it didn't look great on that play. As soon as I kind of saw the whole play before Rodgers even made it to the podium, I was like, oh, Rodgers is going to slay this guy on the podium, and I just know it. So unfortunately, like, this surprises on some people, but this is just always who Aaron Rodgers has been.
Yeah.
Godfrey, I know that you've not liked Aaron Rodgers for just as long as I've stuck up for him. Tell us your perspective of how this went down.
I mean, he's a piece of crap. I mean, listen, he's never been a real leader in a sense, right? Like,
no, I agree. Trogan said that in the chat. He's never been a real leader, though, in my opinion. I agree with you.
And this is just kind of, and you could tell because if you're a real leader of men, you could adapt, right? He's not adapting. He's bringing his old team into New York. I mean, that's staying in your comfort zone, right? Like, you're asking other people to be different, maybe take a diminished role for the good of the team, like a Garrett Wilson, a Breece Hall, Alan Lazard gets targets, and we all knew that was going to happen, and you have to show that too, in the sense of how you're going to play or distribute the ball. I mean, I think he has talent. I think Jets fans are really thirsty for some success, and they totally deserve it. I mean, it's a loyal fan base. We're talking about a fan base who's been losing for a while. Jets fans been losing for a while. So they're,
Sorry, I just have to read this comment because it's so Jory. Aaron Rodgers is a lying, manipulative son of a bitch who thinks he's smarter than he actually is, and is a spoiled ass brat who has to have it his way.
People killed the Packers for drafting Jordan Love, and I thought that they knew who he was and they prepared for it, and it's worked out for him to at least that they're competitive and they can compete and get into the playoffs. And Aaron Rodgers has never really rallied his men in the playoffs. I mean, look at the game he won. It was the game that Caleb Haney played because Jay Cutler got hurt, couldn't play. And in the playoffs, man, he just doesn't rally the troops like that. And I always hear excuses for him. Like even the Matt LaFleur game where, he made some questionable calls. There were times where he could have ran the ball in, but he loves to throw touchdowns inside the 10-yard line. That's his jam. I mean, and I just don't see him leading by example in doing different things and doing what it takes to win. Now, maybe I'm being harsh on him because I always have been kind of, but I've always thought he's been a talented quarterback, but I just feel like he doesn't get it done for the team. And I've always said there's going to be a chemistry problem bringing in all his guys with all the young talent that's in New York. And can he carve that out? And now it went even deeper. They somehow got Devontae Adams there. And then the dude shows up about behind him on the Pat McAfee show. Like, you didn't know Pat.
That was so bad. Like that. That trade must have been completed at like 1:00 in the morning, because for him to be on a plane and in where Aaron Rodgers was 2 hours after the trade was announced, that shit's so wild to me. But let's talk about the trade. Devontae Adams is now a New York Jet. How much does this push the needle for the New York Jets? Do you now see them as a above 500 team, a playoff team, a contender, or does it not move the needle at all? I'll start with you, Gardy 3.
I think it moves the needle for them because I think it helps them in one thing that they've been lacking. I think one of the big issues with the Jets offense right now is just chemistry. Rodgers and these receivers are not on the same page. I think with Devontae Adams, they had a once-in-a-generation connection. Like, that duo is absolutely insane. So if they come back and they have that same connection or something even close to it, right from the jump, I think that just helps the offense in general to just have a consistent target where, him and Rodgers are always going to be on the same page while the rest of the offense kind of comes along. So I do think that this will help the offense in the sense that this gives them some stability in a time where they don't really have a lot of that right now.
Kyle, do you so where do you have them, Brett, real quick? Would you have them as like where would you, if I give you those 4 options, right? A barely above 500 team, like 9-8, a playoff team, a contender for the Super Bowl, or doesn't move the needle? Where do you sit that?
Oh, I said they're a playoff team. I'll stick with it. I think they're a playoff team who, if their offense starts clicking and they get hot at the right time, they could make a deep playoff run. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the second half of the season with this team.
I do want to say this, Dragon, and you could be right. You could be right. I disagree. I heard this on the morning show. Chris said it. Froggen said it. Garrett Wilson's going to be the third wheel to Alan Lazard and Adam and Devontae Adams. I couldn't disagree with you guys more. Anybody want to take a guess on how many targets Garrett Wilson has the last 2 weeks? Take a guess. Number. 2 weeks. Last 2 weeks targets.
I think it's like 23 or something like that.
23?
Okay. Last game.
Kyle, take a guess. What do you think his targets are at?
I was going to say about 20.
20? What do you think his targets at last 2 weeks, Godfrey?
Yeah, they got to be in the 20s. I mean, he's been targeting. I mean,
33. 33 targets in the last 2 weeks. I think Aaron Rodgers now and Garrett Wilson have finally found that connection. And I think when you add Devontae Adams to this, look, as much as I hate on Aaron Rodgers today, I still will tell you this. I put a $50 bet in for the Jets to win the Super Bowl the moment the trade was made. You're going to give me that defense, add a Devontae Adams to give Garrett Wilson less number one coverage. I think the offense becomes unstoppable. And I mean, the Jets become unbearable. I still think they win the Super Bowl.
I mean,
I still think they win the Super Bowl.
Who did they have to play, though? They had to shut down Ray Davis, Khalil Shakir's number one receiver. And I don't know, man. That defense got a talent on it, but they seem like they're trying to find their way, too. I mean, should they have let Ray Davis, like, just go wild on him? Like, can they not stop the run now all of a sudden? Like, what's going on the defensive side of the ball?
When you say go wild, he had 20 carries. He didn't have 100 yards. That wouldn't be classified as going wild to me. Just FYI. Well, I could be wrong. Like, when I hear go wild, I think, like, I don't know, at least 100 yards. He had 20 carries, didn't have 100 yards. He can go wild.
He had a lot of receiving yards, too. I know he had that one big play that Aaron Rodgers made a hell of a play on. But, like, I'm just saying they didn't have a daunting offense they were facing, right? Like,
the Bills are not a good offense.
They're a good offense, but I don't think if you could, that team is good enough where I think they should be able to shut down everybody outside of Josh Allen.
Okay.
I mean, right? I mean, I don't know, man.
Josh Allen threw for 215. The leading running back did not have 100 yards. I think the defense is fine. I think the issue in this game, and Breece Hall finally looks like he's gotten his legs underneath him. I honestly, once again, I could have pie on my face. I'll tell you right now, he said, well, Wilson asked out. No, but Mike Williams will. Mike Williams is now on the injury report and has not practiced since the comments that Aaron Rodgers made. And with an undisclosed injury. I think that's very interesting.
Can we not they're looking to trade him through the back door.
100%.
Can we not let Devontae Adams off the hook? Like, listen.
Oh, no. Devontae can get his. I think he quit on the Raiders. Once again, I think the comments that Antonio Pierce said a few weeks ago about people making business decisions, I said on the first show that Devontae Adams was one of those guys that made business decisions. When you have a whole second half, and I forget the guy's name, Trey Tucker, whoever, and Jacoby Myers were getting all the targets in their attempted comeback versus Carolina, and Devontae Adams didn't touch the ball in the second half, I said he quit. He quit on that team. And then hamstring injury. All of a sudden he gets traded. Full participant. Ready to go.
Yep.
Word is that he ran to Aaron Rodgers like Forrest Gump in the movie. And his hamstring was completely fine. You know, he ran all the way from Oakland to New York.
Well, too bad they don't play in Oakland anymore. They're in Las Vegas.
Whatever. California. Still long distance. Vegas, California.
Devontae Adams, do you absolve him? Do you think the Raiders organization is just such a mess and that Devontae Adams didn't want to waste his career playing for a bad organization? Or do you think he quit on the team, or a little bit of both? Kyle, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
I mean, it sure seems like he knew this was probably going to get done eventually. So he decided to, milk a hamstring until it was official. Because he also came out, what was it, like last week he said he's looking forward to play with Aiden O'Connell. That was clearly a lie because you didn't play with him. You sat out. So I get it. Like, the Raiders organization hasn't necessarily been the best the past couple of years. Maybe he was just fully over it. I mean, I don't like that mentality for a star player, but it's kind of the way it is now. Like, at this point, I'm just like he and Rodgers kind of deserve each other. They can both be miserable in New York when the Jets don't get to where I guess you think they're going to. Because
Where do you got them? Where do you got them at this point?
I mean, I had them as wild card team at best. I had them as like a one and done playoff team, and I think after this move, that's basically what they are. I don't trust Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs. I don't. I've seen him come up short plenty of times. I've seen a lot of throws this year that you expect him to make that he's not making. I don't think just because you bring in Devontae Adams, all of a sudden that fixes itself. So I just think, yeah, they're a playoff team that against certain matchups with AFC teams, I wouldn't like their chances.
Cottrell says this. He said he could have stayed in Green Bay. He wanted to chase the money and play with Derek Carr. If he wanted a trade, he could have handled that in the offseason. You don't just quit and pout until you get traded. I couldn't agree with him more.
I agree 100%.
Amari Cooper gets dealt to the Buffalo Bills from the Cleveland Browns. And Cottrell, earmuffs, you might want to delete, turn off for 1 second. I'm sorry. I don't want to do this. I feel like I should ask this question because I don't want to be unfair. Like, I watched the Browns play multiple times now. I got a good look at them this week versus the Eagles again. I don't think I feel like there's still talent inside Deshaun. I do. But he's lost that escapability he used to have in Houston. He looks like Carson Wentz post ACL surgery, where he can't escape the way he used to escape. The Houdini act is there, and he's a see-it quarterback where he does an anticipatory throw. He has to see it to throw it. Now, granted, he made a couple throws in that game. He threw a dart to Elijah Moore, an absolute dart, like 150 miles an hour, through coverage that he didn't throw it through. I still think there's talent there, but how if you're the Browns, would you entertain trading a first-round draft pick to get rid of Deshaun Watson's contract with only a $40 million cap hit? Because that's what it's going to take. You have to give a first up. Now, you obviously wouldn't give up this first. You'd have to draft a quarterback this year. But you give up a 2026 first to take Deshaun Watson's contract and only be a $40 million cap hit. Because without that, he's owed $140 million. And if they cut him, it's complete dead money.
Send him to Indianapolis. When they figure out Anthony Richardson is never going to learn how to pass because they, then they could be like, oh, Deshaun. Maybe
no, but it's not my question. My question is, if you're the Browns, they dumped Amari Cooper. They picked up a draft pick. Would you trade a first-round draft pick to dump $100 million to Deshaun Watson's contract?
Yeah, if I'm in position to get a quarterback and, I trade someone my 2026 first rounder. Or no, that would be the 2026 one. I would do it, because I want my 2025
You
stuff.
want your 2025. Would you trade Guardy 3? Would you trade a first round draft pick to dump Deshaun? Is it over for Deshaun in Cleveland?
Yeah, I would absolutely trade 2026 to get rid of Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson just hasn't looked good at all. He just doesn't seem motivated. It looks like one of those cases where he got paid and his motivation went right out the window, because I don't doubt that the talent's still there somewhere. But he just doesn't seem motivated to find it. He just seems like he really doesn't care. And I think that's just rubbing off on the rest of the team. Amari Cooper's having a rough year, but at times it seems like he was kind
leads the NFL in drops in Deshaun Watson's defense. Browns lead the league in drops.
Yeah, and it just seems like the whole team at this point almost seems like it's mailing it in. So I think you
can't, Jory. They won't take it for a 2-piece swimsuit and a bottle of liquor. You have to give them a first-round pick for them to take his contract. I would trade him for nothing. I'd cut him if I could. They can't do that. They got to give up an asset to get rid of the contract.
Yeah, and here's the thing, too, about the Browns. They've been their offensive line has been hurt. They just got Jack Conklin back. That's a big piece of that. It's a run-first team. They haven't been able to establish the run. And Amari Cooper, as good as I think he'll fit on the Bills, he has had a rough case of the dropsies. And that pops up every now and then. When he was a rookie in Oakland at the time, he had some dropsies then, and he's gone through spells. So they, it's not all on Deshaun Watson. I know a lot of people want to say like the Browns stink. It's all Deshaun Watson. It's not. There's been a lot of injury there. I still think that team has some fight in them. And I think that they just kind of were moving on from Deshaun, and I guess they're going to try to pray at the Jerry Jeudy altar, and hopefully he steps up to something. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but you can't. I think there's some talent there, but I do agree with Gene's assessment. I think he's trying to play with that capability he does not have anymore.
Kyle, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. You seem level-headed. Right now, I just be clear. Cottrell is telling me that you'd essentially be trading another top 5 pick if you think a rookie quarterback comes into the situation and wins games. I don't know. I think they can get their offensive line healthy. I think they can run the football. I think they can play good defense, but you got to fire the head coach because you have to marry the coach to the quarterback. You can't have Stefanski draft another quarterback. It can't happen. I don't know if he drafted Baker.
I mean, the bigger issue here is, I think, is Watson's play indicative of Stefanski, or would Stefanski look better if Watson looked better? And look, Cottrell being a Browns fan,
you need to know that you got to play Jameis Winston.
I agree with that. I feel like Jameis Winston
year.
Absolutely needs to be put in there now. Try to salvage the season. Even if Winston just gives you like 2-3 weeks of decent play, maybe Watson sitting on the sideline watching somebody else play, maybe that kicks something into gear with him. But at this point, I'd be done with him for the time being. I like kind of like what Cottrell's saying. I don't know if I would fire Stefanski.
I think Stefanski's a good head coach.
He'll get hired right away.
But watch how this works, right? If the Browns have a season in which they have a top 5 pick and they draft a rookie quarterback and they have another season where they're not that good, then you fire the coach who drafted the quarterback. You become the Bears.
They do have Ken Dorsey in there. Yeah, that is a solid
Ken
point.
Dorsey stinks.
That is their OC, and he does stink. I agree.
So I would probably rather fire the OC and find out. Plus, there's no guarantee Cleveland necessarily drafts the correct quarterback. I mean, we have. I mean, Cottrell knows more than anybody. Think of all the quarterbacks that they have taken high.
Bro,
how many of them
imagine the return story of Quinn Ewers, a guy that committed to Ohio State, was in the program for 1 year, transferred to Texas when C.J. Stroud decided to stay. The return story to Ohio for Quinn Ewers. Oh man, the stories write themselves.
Do you think
line up for that? Give me the Netflix documentary.
I would then give Stefanski a capable quarterback because I just can't.
But how many years do you give him with Quinn Ewers? 2, 3? Because then you're basically guaranteeing your coach 3 years. If you draft a quarterback, you have to guarantee that coach 3 years of stability. You can't draft a quarterback and fire the head coach, bring another guy in and be like, yeah, make it work. And if somebody wants to give me a scenario and where that's worked in the NFL, I would love to listen. Long term. I'm not talking about short term where you sign Peyton Manning for 1 year and he gets you a Super Bowl and it's on the back of your defense. I'm not saying short term. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about long term. When has that worked ever?
He said, Cottrell says, give me Shador. I got news for you. Dion ain't letting Shador go to Cleveland. You can
probably not.
You don't have a choice. What do you see what the Mannings have done? Why couldn't Dion pull that off? You kidding me? Or the Elway when he was a rookie. It's been done, trust me, and it can be done. And if he doesn't want to go there, they will do it. Trust me. And especially in this day and age of football, when we got Devontae Adams faking hamstring injuries, and now he's popping up like I'm healed. So anyway, listen, I think Deshaun Watson is going into Kevin Stefanski's office and showing him the clip of Jameis Winston eating crab legs, hyping up his team, and he's like, "You want this guy to start for you? You sure? This guy?"
At least Winston would show a pulse. Like there are times where Watson looks like a zombie just going through the motions. I feel like that's like half the problem with him. It's just like Brett said, he'll make a play and it's just like, does he actually care? Does he want to be a great quarterback again? I feel like he doesn't. I feel like he's gotten his money. He has all the outside issues and all that that's probably weighing on him, and he's probably looking for somewhere to hide. I've joked before, come up with a fake injury, give him a couple of weeks to kind of go away and clear his head.
Do you think
It
he
doesn't
lost
look
the
like he's
respect of the
having
NFL
fun.
players with the sexual allegations that were against him? Do you think like his team's just like he's lost? Like I put it to you this way, right? This is a very, very outlandish comparison. But do you know how like a person that rapes or is a pedophile and they go to jail and everybody in the community is like, nah, bro, I don't want anything to do with you. Like they stay far away from them, they exclude them. Is that the way it is with like a sexual assault type scenario in an NFL locker room? Do you think that could be a thing where the guys are in there like, I have daughters, bro, stay the fuck away from me. Like I don't want anything to do with you.
Nah, I don't.
Okay.
I think we have too much. I think we have too much of a high bar for athletes' moral competency. I'm sorry. I've seen it too many times. Like,
I'm not saying they quit. I'm just saying they don't mess with them.
I mean, they might not be inviting them to the cookout.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I
Like
mean,
there's no camaraderie. And the quarterbacks and their receivers and their offensive line need to have it like this. I'll say something about Aaron Rodgers, right? We talked about him a minute ago being an asshole. But I'll tell you this, all of his offensive linemen in Green Bay, most of them loved him. And a lot of his wide receivers he brought with him. Devontae Adams, Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb. They loved him. They understood him. They developed a bond, a chemistry. He's an asshole.
he's a politician. That's the best way to describe him.
Okay.
He helps his tribe. And if you're on that island,
It's
all good.
I love that. The way they're at his birthday, it seems like he's no Bell Callahan. Full draft day reference. That's a great reference. Guys, I have to talk about another weird quarterback scenario, and I need to get everybody's opinion on this. Let me ask you guys a question real quick. I just want to kind of feeder into this. The 1-5 Jaguars have not made a quarterback change. The 1-5 Browns have not made a quarterback change. By the way, just to be clear, the 1-5 Jaguars should not make a quarterback change. They dropped 4 touchdown passes this week. 4 touchdown passes dropped. But just that's not for here nor there. The 1-5 Browns have not made a quarterback change this year. The 2-4 Giants have not made a quarterback change this year. Someone explain to me why the 4-2 Pittsburgh Steelers are making a goddamn switch of quarterback. We're going with Dangerous. We're going with the sandwich guy. Are we out of our freaking mind? What the hell has Justin Fields done to anyone? This guy has been given the worst shake of the litter I've ever seen a quarterback have. Gets drafted by Nagy. Eberflus, they have no wide receivers. They give him one wide receiver the last year he was there with no offensive line. He plays his ass off. I think the Bears were like 9-8 or 8-9. Plays his ass off to get the Bears in playoff contention. They dump him. The Steelers pick him up to be the backup quarterback. The starting quarterback can't play. He goes 4-2. And he gets benched. What the hell is going on?
I know what's going on. Listen, Mike Tomlin's not going to let a quarterback cost him his job. And that should never be. I'm speaking from the perspective of delusional Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Okay. In no world should Mike Tomlin be talked about being removed as a head coach in any world of sanity or reality. Okay. But Steelers fans, you will hear all the time, oh, it's a mirage. It's this or that. The one thing I could say looking at Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, okay, is Russell wasn't fucking awful last year. He had a rating of 98, 26-8, and he didn't play all 17 games and 66 completion percentage. I think Tomlin and people on the staff think Russell will run the offense better, because here's the thing about Justin Fields. As dynamic as he can be, he still makes those frustrating plays. And I'm a Justin Fields fan, as people who watch the show know. He still runs into pressure, which ironically is what Russell Wilson did a lot early on in his career and would get away through it with his escapability, which he doesn't have now. But, it's a thin change, but I think they're looking to get other parts more involved. And I just think that they don't think Justin Fields is running the offense to its fullest potential, in my opinion. And that's why they're doing it. And they're like, well, it's funny. He won last week, but if they won against, the Cowboys, he's probably still starting, even though that was 2 games.
Better. They'd be 5-1 if they won versus the Cowboys.
Yeah.
You guys forget the one game he lost that wasn't at home. He threw for 312 yards versus the Colts. The guy has done nothing but be competitive in ball games.
But there were some plays in that game that were like a little bit head scratching, right? I mean, I think that's their long-term solution, but I also don't think that Mike Tomlin is in the business of putting himself in a position to be tied to anybody that he thinks could be a boat anchor, and they could blame the offense on him. For some reason, that's look at how he's played it. I'm not really naming a starter until Russell Wilson's healthy. He never came out and said, Justin Fields is our guy, not once. He did it on purpose. It was methodical, and I have to kind of applaud his effort in kind of trying to get out of his way of that fire. And then he's like, you know what? We'll give Russell a shot this week, because I think that you might see a little bit more polished play. But, when you look at the preseason, Russell didn't really do well with the preseason either.
Right now, I don't know if it's a gift or a curse. You're going to give them the Jets, the number 2 defense in football, on a primetime game as his first game back. You guys are out of your goddamn mind. That's not my first start of the season for Russell Wilson. No way. Hey, Russ, sit one more week. If you're going to pull that, let Justin lose versus the Jets and then pull it. You're out of your damn mind. There's no way I do that.
Or Tomlin's protecting Justin Fields and sacrificing Russell Wilson against the Jets.
I guess we'll see. I doubt it.
I'm just
You're talking, Brett. The fans want to hear more Brett Gardy 3. Brett, is this the right move for Pittsburgh?
It's interesting because I don't necessarily like it. I think Justin Fields has played well enough. He's led them to a 4-2 record. However, I do somewhat understand what they're trying to do here. I think they're trying to wake the offense up a little bit more. And I think the big problem with Justin Fields is really not so much the interceptions, because he's only thrown 1. The problem with him is, outside of not generating a lot of explosive plays, fumbles. He's not really taking care of the football, because on his 1 interception, he also had 6 fumbles. So overall, I would probably have just rolled with Justin Fields, because it's working, and just tried to work on him just mainly with ball security throughout the season. But honestly, I can see the vision here, because you can always run, let's say, a good week or 2 of Russell Wilson, and hey, maybe at the trade deadline, you can build up his value a little and flip Russell Wilson, and then just run Justin Fields the rest of the year and get something back for Russ.
I guess.
Steelers O-line stinks, though, by the way. Just to, So I don't know if they think Russ
I don't think this comes into play, Jeremy. When you're 4-2 and competing for the division, I don't think the Steelers give a damn whether they're giving up a 6th or a 4th round pick for a quarterback that takes them to the playoffs. I don't think. Now, look, maybe it does. Maybe they're cheaper than I expect them to be. But if you get a quarterback that takes you to the playoffs, giving up a 4th round pick versus 6, the Eagles gave up a 3rd for Jahan Dotson. No one gives a shit if they go to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Kyle, what's your thoughts?
I mean, I figured this is something that was going to come up at some point. You brought in a guy who's established like Russ. You brought in a guy who maybe didn't have the best opportunity in Chicago and Fields. Fields has played well. I would kind of run with Fields, but let's just say Wilson plays well against the Jets. Teams come calling, and you can move off of him for, I don't know, a 4th or 3rd or something like that. You probably take it. Then that way you can go back to Fields and continue kind of his development. Because he's been in the league a few years, but there are still parts of his game that he definitely needs to get better with.
Okay.
Godfrey brought up the O-line isn't great. Fields is more mobile. So there's also a chance that Russ goes in there, completely struggles because the O-line is just not able to hold up. The Jets have their own issues in terms of rushing the quarterback at times. Then what do? Can you fully put that game on Russ? So then does Russ get another week while Fields maybe sitting there like, okay, you tried this, you put Russ in, he stunk. Shouldn't I go back in? Like, this could turn to something, or I mean, I could completely be overblowing it, and it's nothing at all.
You know, the Arthur Smith offense, like it or not, I don't like it. I can't believe I have to say that. Don't know how, but
Like it or
Arthur
not,
Smith offense is predicated off play action,
it is.
and I think my hunch is that they think that Russell Wilson will be better at executing play action than Justin Fields.
That's fair.
And the one thing that
He's
I
actually a
will
very
say,
good play-action quarterback. That's the one
Yeah.
thing Russ does very well.
right, and the one thing I will say about, I think Justin Fields has a stronger arm, but I think Russell Wilson has a better deep ball right now. The other thing that I think that's not fair to Justin Fields is that loss to the Cowboys wasn't on Justin Fields. That was on the defense. They let Dakota Rain Prescott march down that field on them. And that's supposed to be a good defense, and they did not stop him. So
He scored 17 points in a game. You can't blame the defense.
yeah, but that was a key. That's a key drive. And if your
I get
defense
it.
is your strength, you got to come up with a stop.
Listen, I'm not saying
He put him
you're
ahead. He
wrong.
put him ahead. That's all I'm saying. He put him ahead at the end of the game. You know what else? He can't play defense.
We're going to quickly run through 4 games this week. 3 games on Sunday we got to talk about, and then we got the game tonight. The game tonight should be an absolute trash fest. We're back to prime football. This is what we're back to. The Denver Broncos at 3-3 without Patrick Surtain. They're missing a bunch of guys. They're going into New Orleans who are playing without anyone. No starting quarterback, no Taysom Hill, no starting wide receiver 1, no starting wide receiver 2, no starting center. Like the Saints are playing with nobody. This is going to be a trash fest. How do you see this game going? Godfrey, start us off. Let us know how you see the game going.
I see Sean Payton taking a dump on him, pretty much. Revenge game. You think that's not on his mind? Not that he should be bitter at the Saints.
It's not a revenge game for Sean Payton. It's a revenge game for the Saints. One guy quit on the team. The other guy didn't. Sean Payton quit on that football team. If I'm Dennis Allen, my rallying cry, I'll tell you right now, you just made my mind up. I was kind of on the fence. Give me the Saints and give me the Saints defense. Because if one guy can play revenge card tonight, it's Dennis Allen. This guy quit on you guys. He didn't think you guys were good enough. So
you're telling me that Bubba, I don't know who they memes, and Josh Tipton or whoever they are, Lipton Tipton, and like that they're so Tyrann Mathieu's all banged up. Like I don't see how they go out there with that team and compete. They're gonna compete, but they're not gonna. Dude, that team is, and Taysom Hill, like who? I mean, I know who he is, but like
you got Bub Means, you got Mason Tipton.
Bub Means.
These guys are guys, right?
The guy's named Bub.
Brown.
Bub is a word where you're like, yo, Bub, what's up? Like Bub Means? You're gonna tell me that's their path to victory?
Yep.
A guy named Bub?
Means, baby.
I
believe in Bub Hendricks.
Yeah.
Taysom Hill is out. Yeah, we said that. Olave's out. Rashid Shaheed's out. Yeah, let's go. Equinemius St. Brown, bro. He's the real St. Brown. I'm just kidding.
Is he the ball boy or is he on a team?
No, he's Equinemius St. Brown is going to play tonight.
Oh, okay.
So I have the Saints and the under. I got them winning this game 17-9.
That's ugly.
Flop fest.
Yeah, you know those games that both teams are so bad that it's just a really even, like, kind of interesting game to watch? I think we're in for one of those tonight. I think this is going to be a low-scoring crap fest with some of the most unintentionally hilarious football that you'll ever watch. You know what? I'll take the Saints. Give me the Saints 16-10.
I think the Saints defense shows up tonight.
I think
can't wait.
too.
I can't wait to get my score.
Give your score. Go ahead.
Listen, people like. Did the Broncos not beat the Jets on the road?
10-9. Yes.
Yeah, they still won. They competed with the Steelers. They smoked the Buccaneers. Everybody wants to praise Baker Mayfield with Alex Singleton on a torn ACL. 2 road games back to back. They just beat the crap out of the Raiders, and I didn't think they beat the Chargers. Bad matchup. They beat them. I'm not saying they're great, but I think their team is more together right now. And that defense they don't need Patrick Surtain. They could put a trash can out there to guard Bub. Like, they're going to win. They're going to cover easily. It's going to be, they're going to cover.
What do you got? What's your score? You said, I can't wait to get my score. And then you gave a whole soliloquy without a goddamn score.
It's going to be like 24-10.
That was what you couldn't wait to give us, your 24-10 score?
Wasn't the score. It was the substance around the score.
Fair. Jeremy says 24-3 Broncos. This is going to dog walk the Saints. Kyle, how do you see this game?
I got to kind of agree with Godfrey here. Look, the egomaniac that Sean Payton is, this is going to be the game where he's going to try every trick in the book to run it up against the Saints. And I agree that Saints players will want to, be up for this game as well. But I'd have to give this one to the Broncos. I think they probably cover as well. I also don't know about 24-3. I don't think they're that good on offense to kind of do it like that. But yeah, I think the Broncos get it. I think this is the game that Sean Payton has had circled for a while.
But why does Sean Payton get to circle this game?
I'm just saying because of the egomaniac that Sean Payton is. He's probably told
you guys
himself.
Are giving that rookie quarterback way too much credit to be able to go into New Orleans tonight and play offense. There's no way that's happening.
Going into New Orleans, it's not like they're going into Buffalo or something. Like New Orleans is
going into New Orleans on a Monday night game. I'm telling you right now, look at the history.
I mean, Thursday.
I would only say that if they're playing the Falcons, because when the Falcons go there, that's different. This is for Denver. I don't know how. I'll take Denver in this one.
All right, we're split on this one. Me and Gardy 3 are on the winning side.
Dude, I saw Peyton win 7 games in a row with Teddy 2 gloves. Like,
okay.
I don't like the guy.
Defense and a Dennis Allen defense.
That's true.
Defense wins games. Rattler over Knicks.
I mean,
all right, guys.
Quarterback matchup we all didn't know we deserved.
It's funny. This matchup has happened before. Oklahoma's Spencer Rattler played Auburn's Bo Nix 4 years ago. A lot of people don't know that.
It's because Bo Nix went to college for like 9 years, right?
So, do want to I got to go into Sunday. There's 3 awesome games Sunday. And I just want to get a quick synopsis on each one of them. Don't go on a long rant like me. Got to start with the Detroit Lions head into the undefeated Minnesota Vikings. That is a banger. The Lions just beat the snot out of the Cowboys. But in the process, lost arguably their best defensive player, Aiden Hutchinson, for hopefully just the end of the year. Jeremy says the surgery is a success. I've seen all those reports. That injury looked really bad. So let's hope that that's what it is. The Lions are going into Minnesota. Minnesota's coming off the bye week. Vikings fans, I want you to cheer and rejoice. I've picked against you guys way too much this year. And I'm picking against you again. Give me the Lions. They're a better football team. Their offensive line is going to be able to move the Vikings' defensive line. And at some point, great coaching is going to be overwhelmed by better players. I'll take the Lions in this one.
I can agree. I have the Lions as well. I think it's going to me, this might be the game of Sunday. I'm excited to watch this one as well. But yeah, I'll take the Lions. I think they play a physical brand that Minnesota may not be ready for coming off of their bye, and I think they hand the Vikings their first loss.
I can't believe what I'm hearing here. Can't believe what I'm hearing. Can't believe it. We have 2 of the biggest Brian Flores disciples out here on the show. And you're telling me that he's not going to be able to handle Jared Goff on the road, who, I know he did good work against
Jared Goff.
What about losing Aiden Hutchinson? That's huge for that defense.
Huge. That is huge.
I mean, where are they going to get the pass rush from? That is gigantic for them. If they can't pace the game like they normally do with the run game and the play action and the pass, I don't know if they could survive the onslaught that Flores is definitely going to bring at Jared Goff. I mean, I don't know, man. And that secondary ain't shutting down people like I'm not, listen, it's hard for me to say without throwing up, like, Sam Darnold's the Sam Darnold. I just I don't know how I could say it, but I just think, this is a tougher road game for the Lions than people think.
Oh no, I don't think they're not favored in the game.
Yeah, people
think they're a 1.5 point dog.
Yeah, but to only get 1.5 points as the undefeated team at
There's
home.
a better team. You walked into this season and you said the Vikings would be under 7.5 wins. And now 5 weeks completely changed your mind.
That wasn't on my bingo card, but neither was Aiden Hutchinson breaking his tibia. That wasn't on my bingo card either.
Darnold looked very pedestrian in the second half of that Jets game. He's coming down to earth.
He should come down to earth. I hope he does.
You're picking the Vikings.
Yes, I'm going to pick the Vikings. Yeah.
Got it. Where are you at, Guardy 3?
Short and sweet. Give me the Lions. I think their physical brand of football will stymie the Vikings, and Jared Goff will protect the ball enough to keep it out of harm's way and enough to give the Lions a victory.
Sunday, you got to talk about this game. The Houston Texans, who only have one loss on the season, are going to travel to Green Bay to play Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. And I'll tell you something right now, man. Before the season started, I thought Jordan Love might have been overrated. I even said it on this show. He has proven me completely wrong, and I have no problem eating crow and saying that. Jordan Love looks great with the talent that Aaron Rodgers couldn't win with. I love the Packers in this spot. I think they're the better overall football team. I think their defense has improved immensely this year with the new defensive coordinator. I think they can run the football. Jordan Love is throwing the ball all over the yard. There's not just one guy you got to defend. You got to defend Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, Dontavian Wicks, Romeo Dobbs. You got to defend the whole football field. I like the Packers in this one. I think the Packers win this game in Green Bay, 27-24. Good football game, but I'll take the Pack.
Yeah, this one's tough. I've gone back and forth with this one because I like both teams a lot. I like both quarterbacks a lot. I think the Texans are a little bit different now that they got Mixon and Pierce back. I think that definitely helps them out a lot. So I could definitely see the Texans go into Green Bay and getting this one. I just think that defensively, Will Anderson has been playing great coming off of the edge. And I wouldn't be mad either way, but I'll take the Texans.
It's fair. Guardy 3, you're going to go last on this one, brother. You're not allowed to go. You got to wait because it's your team. Godfrey, who do you got in this one?
Yeah, who did the Packers beat last week?
The Arizona Cardinals.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of agree with Kyle here. I mean, it is tough though not having Nico Collins, but I do think that they're going to be fine with that. They have enough depth in that position, and getting back that run game. If you can establish the run game on the Packers, it's a problem for them. So I just think I'm going to go with the road dog on this one.
Okay. So you're going Houston, Guardy 3. Tell us why he's wrong.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Packers on this one, and we can talk about Jordan Love and the offense, but I think what's going to make a difference is that defense. They still can be had in the run game, but the difference between last year and this year is they're making plays. They forced 17 turnovers already. The next closest team is 13. This is a team that's swarming to the ball, punching it. They're getting their hands up in the passing lanes, and they're forcing a lot of turnovers. I think Jordan Love and C.J. Stroud will have an awesome quarterback duel. I think the difference will be the Packers' defense comes through again, forces a clutch turnover. Packers take this one 30-27 in an absolute classic.
I'll tell you this, and the one thing I'm really looking forward to this week is without Nico Collins there, we get our old matchup that happened so many times in the NFC North division where you get Stephon Diggs lined up across Jair Alexander, and these two guys absolutely hate each other. Look for a big game out of Tank Dell for the Houston Texans. I think Jair Alexander will be giving everything he can to slow down Stephon Diggs, and I think Alexander is a better corner than Diggs is a wide receiver. That's the reason I'm going with Green Bay. And then we got one more game we got to cover, Super Bowl rematch. Guys, if you need any more motivation. I don't know how you can give the Chiefs any more motivation. This is so weird to me. I understand the 49ers are a good football team, but to play at home and be a 2-point favorite versus the undefeated Chiefs in a game coming where the Chiefs are coming off the bye with Andy Reid's record off the bye is absolutely ludicrous. Help me understand. Help me understand. I love the Chiefs in this game. How? No Christian McCaffrey. Nick Sorensen's done an absolute awful job on that defense, being for the defensive coordinator. We all wanted to blame the defensive coordinator last year for San Francisco. Yeah, the defense got worse. Give me the Chiefs coming off the bye this week. I'll take the Chiefs going into Frisco. Patrick Mahomes finding a way. Spagnuolo's defense has been incredible. I think he'll slow down Brock Purdy. I think the Chiefs move the football. Give me the Chiefs this Sunday. Godfrey.
I'm going with the Chiefs. Not a lot of people have been running on them. They got Andy Reid after a bye week. By the way, Kareem Hunt's back in town. Juju Smith-Schuster did show up on the injury report this late in the week with a hamstring injury. Never a good sign when that happens. But yeah, I'm going with the Chiefs.
Kyle.
I feel like a couple of weeks ago, I kind of pinpointed this game as the Chiefs' potential first loss. I do agree with you. When I first saw the line, it made me kind of look at it twice because it does seem like it doesn't make a lot of sense. I say all that to say, got a weird feeling. Brock Purdy and the Niners figure out a way. I know everything's lined up against them. Spagnuolo's going to be great. He'll have a great plan against them, but I just have a feeling that the Niners give the Chiefs their first loss.
Okay. Guardy 3.
Yeah, I'm not dumb enough to bet against Andy Reid coming off the bye week, so I also, like Kyle, thought this was a very good chance for this to be the Chiefs' first loss, but I also didn't realize how severe Christian McCaffrey's injury was and how the 49ers would look. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs tonight.
All right. I'm going to read this out to you guys because I think it's really interesting. These are the teams that have over 80% of the tickets or 80% of the money. And I want you to watch this week and see those teams get holding calls called against them all day. The New England Patriots are getting 81% of the tickets, plus 5.5 over the Jaguars. 81% of the tickets. The Philadelphia Eagles are getting 83% of tickets, 80% of the money, and 98% of the money line cash over the Giants. Doesn't look good for Philadelphia. The Detroit Lions are getting 91% of the betting public on them money and 84% of the tickets over the Vikings. The Houston Texans are getting 86% of the money over the Green Bay Packers. And then last but not least, 82% of the tickets, 81% of the money are on the Commanders over the Carolina Panthers. Just a little food for thought. Interesting takes there. What conversation about CMC? What am I missing?
Probably, I guess, surrounding the injury and maybe
when he comes back, he comes back. I don't know. I don't know what to say there. Any final thoughts before we wrap up? Because we got a wonderful prime video game tonight.
No, go Pack Go. Tune into the N1 podcast at 8 o'clock. It is prediction week. We're going to make predictions for the upcoming NBA season. Going to be a ton of fun.
Love that. Anybody want to guess what the highest selling? We do this every week. Ticket sales. Lowest price, highest price to get in the house for the tickets as low as. What game? Most expensive to go to this week? Give you a hint. One of the 4 games we covered.
I was about to say that'd be one of them. I'll say Lions, Packers.
Lions not playing Packers. So are
I
you
mean-
saying Packers?
Yeah,
Texans, or are you saying the Lions at Minnesota?
Texans, Packers. Sorry.
Texans Packers is the highest ticket cost this week.
I would have guessed Chief 49ers, but
That's third. Second is Lions at Minnesota. You can go to tonight's game for as low as $34. I'm wire Gene.
yeah, you could take a bub there.
That's taking it deep with D Godfrey. He's not guarding the 2, he's guarding the 3. Check him out in the N1 podcast and Integrity Sports Network's own Chomping at the Bit Kyle Edwards. And we are signing out.